Welcome back everybody to my advanced programming course using C++. Today we're going to talk about summing of values in a two-dimensional array. So let's go back to our original example here where we have a function called showArray. Now I'm going to write another function and I'm going to call it sumArray, and it's going to be a integer return type, and we can just redefine what we did before, and I'll show you what we need to do in terms of summing an array. Now if we want to take a look as to the logic, okay, I want to kind of go through that with you. So suppose you have an array like this, right? In this sense, we have 4 rows. Is it 4 rows? Yeah, no, 3 rows. 3 rows, 4 columns, right? So I can get rid of the last one. And remember, we talked about this in terms of a matrix. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So if I want to get the total for this specific table, what I have to do is I have to go through this row by row, which means that on row 1, I stay in row 1 and then sum 1 plus 2, then take the result, then add 3 to it, right? Then take the result. So I'm sorry, 3 plus 3 is 6. And then add 4 to it. And then I'm done, at least for this row. Okay? So we're going to take the approach of, for every row, we're going to take the sum and accumulate that sum. And then when we accumulate the sum, after we're done with the row, we're going to go to the next row and take the same sum that we were accumulating at and then add on to our sum. And just take the same approach where we would go column by column. Okay? So the first thing for me to do is I'm going to set up my loop so that first I can iterate through rows. Okay? So let me do that real quick. So I am going to take this. And in here, I am going to copy what we did previously. So let's see here. See a little bit more. So here, I'm taking this. Oops, sorry, wrong one. I'm taking this and doing that. Okay. So by me doing this, I am going to set up my loop to go through, row 1, row 2, and row 3, where initially this is 1, 0, 1, 2, right? Now, obviously, it's not complete, because as I go through the rows, I also have to go through each column. So I'll go through this column, then this column, then this column, and then this column. Right, so that again we'll have to do an inner loop. One thing I did want to do is I do want to do a sum. I can say table total and do 0. Okay, now as I go through my rows, I want to also step through my columns. So I can say call is equal to 0. Call is less than the number of columns, right? So num calls, and then column plus plus, right? Now I'm going to take my table total as my accumulator, and use the same variable and accumulate, and then add on to my table data. So sorry, it should be table data. Take this and say row call, and then I'm going to return the table total. Okay, so what I'm doing here is, let's step through this real quick. So let's go back. I'll go this way. All right, so we do this, right? All right. So table total is going to be my sum. So we can say that table total is going to be what, this is my accumulator. Okay. That's going to get accumulated on. Now, as I go through my rows, okay, so let's draw this table again. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. When I'm at row 0, right, I'm over here. Okay? And then my nested loop says I'm also in column 0, right? Because this is 0, 1, 2, 3. And this is 0, 1, 2. Now, table data of row column, right? So table data of row column initially is going to be table data subscript 0 subscript 0. Okay, so 0 subscript 0, it's kind of like a map. So on the row side you have 0, and on the column side you have 0. What does that make? It makes this value here. So I'm taking 1 plus, and then table total is 0, and I'm just reassigning that to 1, right? So this becomes 1. That's on the first iteration. Okay, on the second iteration, right, we have to stay within our inner loop, and call becomes 1, right? So this little arrow is not going to move over here, right? And because that little arrow moved, we can say that we are now at row 0, column 1. So what's row 0, column 1? It's this thing here, right? So so we can say that this is the first iteration. On the second iteration, okay, of the column and the inner loop, I have 0, 1, which is 2. I'm going to take the previous value that I was assigned to table total, which is now 1, right? And then reassign it to itself, which is now 3. So this now becomes 3. Okay? Again, we are staying in the same row, but we're just moving the little arrow. So we go over here. Okay. Third iteration. We are now at column 2. Right? Subscript 2, but column 3. So what's 0, 2? So 0, and then this is 2, right? They match right here, in this thing here. And the value is 3. So 3 plus the previous value of table total, which was now 3, right? So 3 plus 3 is 6. Okay? And then the last iteration in terms of my inner column loop, this will now change to 3. By this changing to 3, that means we're over here, right? What's 0, 3? 0, 3 gives us this 4 right here. So we do 4 plus the previous value of table total, which was 6, and then that's going to give us 10. And we have to do these 4 steps 2 more times because we're doing it per row, because we just did it only for row 1, which is subscript 0. Now we have to do it for row 1, and then it's row subscript 1, and then row subscript 2. The only difference is that this, again, is going to start at 0, but as we go through the rows, this will increase as well. So we're not going to stay at 0, we're going to go to 1. But this loop handles that, right? Because after 4 times, remember, this is 4, right? From 0 to 4 is going to be 4 times. 0, 1, 2, 3. After this executes, meaning the inner loop executes, now we're going to go back all the way up to the outer for loop and then increment the row by 1, right? So you're going to have a whole different 1. Okay, so enough distraction with the phones. So that's basically what's going to happen when you loop through, when you do this data processing. And when you do data processing, you have to do it with row and then column. And always remember that it is like a map. So you just have to do a mix and match. So if you do like something like 1 and then 2, right, and then whatever your array name is, this means you're in row 1, right? So you would just do this here. And then which column are you selecting? You're selecting column 2. So column 2 would be this thing here. Okay, now that is the explanation of how logically it works. Let's take a look at what happens now when we sum the array. So we are going to, I spelled this wrong. We're going to find the sum. Okay, we're going to find the sum. We're not going to print out the contents. So we'll say the sum of the array is, do a new line, and then sum array, which is going to give us table 1 and then rows. So let's take a look at how we find that sum. Run that. Sum of the array is, that's interesting. Oh, why is that happening? Well, remember, we're not printing anything out. We're returning a value here, right? So we're returning a total. So what we can do here is I can just print this out here. Okay. What I could have done is also I could have declared another integer array with a sum and then assigned this to my integer sum array, not array, but variable. Okay, because it's returning one value. So let's do that. Okay, so there it is. So sum is 74. Okay, so if you take all these and sum them up together, you're going to get a 74 value. So again, this is a simple example. I just want to show you how to process data in an array, and hopefully this has gotten you closer to understanding how to process data into an array. It's not hard. You know that you're going to have to do some nested loops, so it's for you to go through. Okay? Okay. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.